Hello everyone, my name is Matthew Lichtenberg, and today I'll be discussing my cultural event of choice, which is the Arizona Aloha Festival. And as a point of reference, I will be touching out of the camera in order to better view my slides for you as my audience. So who am I? A quick introduction would be that I am again Matthew Lichtenberg. I am a white male who is 25. I am of 50% Jewish ethnicity and 25% Irish and English respectively. I grew up of lower middle class SES, which again is socioeconomic status. So why the Aloha Festival? I always wanted to know more. I remember growing up with shows like Even Stevens and Rocket Power that featured Hawaiian and Polynesian cultures. And then I had understood the history of some of these cultures through high school with the annexation of Hawaii and surrounding territories, but didn't understand the culture that had overcome these vast changes. And then dance through luau and leis through the arts and crafts that I'd seen represented prior. Population of focus here again is Hawaiian and Polynesian cultures. These cultures were represented by Arizona locals and family and friends that had flown in from out of state. So a misnomer here that I will point out. So for socioeconomic status, there's a difference between the population and myself. The sources online will point to how overall the Asian American poverty line is slightly lower than that of the national average, or as I was, the poverty rate. However, this is a misnomer because at the bottom you can see Japanese and Korean cultures, but these are East Asian, which we'll touch on later. And at the top, our population of focus would include Hawaiian, Samoan, and Polynesian, which represent a larger portion of that poverty rate. And again, Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander cultures, or households as I was, their income is slightly lower than the national average, set at $57,000 annually. Some cultural differences in populations and myself, this population in particular. The cultural traditions of dance and clothing, you could see garb and ceremonial outfits that greatly differ from the culture that I've come from. The music and food is also the key difference, and we'll touch on the preparation of some foods that they use through the lomi lomi salmon and kalua pig that are vastly different from my own culture as well. Before the event, I had many thoughts and feelings, but most notably was excitement. I was excited to see the event. I had seen it on Tempe Tourism prior, and I wanted to get a better idea about all the cool events that they were offering. Most notably was the food trucks, and this was hunger here from my thoughts before the event. I'd seen some really yummy stuff, and I wanted to try it out. And then I was very curious about the dances and arts and crafts that would be available representing these cultures. A key concern here again is how in prior events for cultural festivals, I had seen misrepresentation or maybe influences from outside sources. So I wanted to go into this with an open mind and understand that that might be a possibility. So pictured here, myself and my lovely girlfriend, we went to the festival on March 12th, though it was offered for the full weekend from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at Tempe Beach Park. Main events again included dances, food vendors, clothing and shops, and arts and crafts. So we'll touch on the video, or in a second, we'll check it out, but pictured there is Tapao o Samoa, which is the leading female dancer chosen by young girls in a village, and she was called the Tapao. In the video, you won't see a leading female. However, this is an important distinction because at festivals, the tuinga or headdress is worn by the chief's official Tapao, chosen by that chief. As the leading female. And the dress and song and dance is to commemorate the beauty, grace, and talent of the young women who would have been led by a Tapao, but you will see in the video that all 4 or 5 of these women are dressed in the ceremonial garb with male company behind them. So let's take a quick look at this video. And you can see and hear the excitement from the crowd. And in the background, you'll even hear some shouting from the community that's been brought together by this event. The dancing with the women representing that Tapao through their dresses and headdresses, and the male accompaniment in the background, all showcasing important cultural traditions that can be shown through the Tapao o Samoa. Alrighty. Oh, so sorry. Moving forward, and we'll touch on the short video again in a second. This is the Mele o Kaho Aloe. Kohei, in this instance, refers to that which nourishes and receives. Kohei, Kaho Aloe, means the carrying away by currents. And the island that this song reflects through its nourishing is Kohei Mala'a Malama'o. And this in English translates to shining vagina of Kanaloa. And Kanaloa is an ancient sea goddess. So it's a song representing the nourishment and reception that which the sea goddess presents to us. The dance is traditional hula of Hawaiian culture, led by a young man suited and young women donning leis. Again, these are Hawaiian floral necklaces and crowns. So let's take a quick look at this quick video. Now, admittedly, I did feel slightly awkward filming in front of a crowd, but I fortunately took a picture, so sorry again, of the event itself, and you can see here the young man donning a suit and his female accompaniment dancing as co-stars with floral leis and crowns in their dresses. So, arts and crafts. In the next slide, you will see traditional flower leis, and as we understand them in America, the puka shell necklaces, but these are actually shell leis, and they're from the mysterious island of Niihau. It's developed into a fine art and culture, and it's unequaled in the world. And again, the flower lei, which we've seen in all the dances, has withstood the test of time as an expression of aloha and creativity. Painting and art, you will see landscapes and floral designs, and the paintings that I took pictures of were modeled after George O'Keeffe, who had visited in 1939 and spent 9 weeks painting on the islands. Here, as you can see, the delicate craftsmanship and hard work put into these shell leis, and the craftsmanship of small boats taken from shells depicted on the side, and then the paintings modeled after George O'Keeffe. So traditional food, again, in the next slide you'll see more, but kalua pig, it's a traditional Hawaiian cooking method where it utilizes an imu or an oven by putting the pig underground to roast and cook along with coals. Teriyaki chicken, lomi salmon, and again, this comes from lomi lomi being Hawaiian for massage. So it's cubed salmon massaged with vegetables. Very delicious malasada, which is actually Portuguese in origin. However, it's fried doughy balls with golden brown outside. And then coconuts, which are native to the Polynesian and Hawaiian Islands, and cut them open, delicious, nutritious. I'm sure we've all had coconut juice before. Here you can see the malasada and some kalua pig with salmon and teriyaki chicken. And pictured here, you can see the coconuts and other confections. A point of note would be tozan and Korean hot dogs, tozan being Japanese and Korean corn dogs, as I was. We'll touch on that later for cultural representation. Thoughts and feelings during. Beautiful, graceful dancing. You could really see the passion and culture represented through each of their delicate movements, honed over time. There's a deep history I wanted to learn more about and saw during the presentation of the festival. And there was a respect and pride they all shared through the festival and through their speaking with one another that also represented a great kindness and generosity between each other. Grouping culture, again, you could see the culture coming together through these dances and songs. They were very catchy, very fun. They were influenced by nature largely, and that can be seen through the arts and crafts, again, because they represented that of the natural landscape that is natural to the Hawaiian and Polynesian Islands. And the biggest thing, again, is a sense of belonging that the community gives to onlookers. Important insights would be the importance of tradition, representation of culture, and the beauty of diversity that I saw here. I hadn't experienced a cultural event with the lens that social work has provided me before, and so now I was able to see really how diversity played such a beautiful part in our experience. Strengths, again, through community and family and the friendship I saw, and then the discipline and hard work that their crafts took. A policy I chose was House Bill 117. This is a very recent one of 2019. This trumped Arizona's House Bill 424, which was to stop Hawaii from sending inmates out of state because Arizona perceived Hawaii as trying to free up Arizona prisons. However, the excuse me, the House bill that passed was passed in order to make sure that Hawaii inmates stayed with Hawaii, because it was harder to keep connections in Arizona for them, difficult to find support systems, and there was an increase in recidivism and homelessness. So Hawaiian prisoners would stay with Hawaii. Some of the reflections I had for the group and culture, again, were the hierarchical structures of the Tapao and the history I learned from that, and the importance of the dance to the culture and the music and song, and how that represented a lot of communal belonging and pride. Another big thing was the dress, because not only the dress, but the crafts represented a deep respect for nature and love for their surroundings. And before I even knew the name again, Lomi Lomi salmon and Kalua pig, I've had these before, and it was really delicious, but I did not know about the style to produce them. And I could see the deep traditional ties that that style had embedded within. And it was very community-based. Again, the chanting and shouting that we all saw in my video, that occurred during the event for the community coming together and enjoying their culture as one. Representation, this was my key concern, and we saw with the Tozan Japanese food stall and the Korean corn dogs that some East Asian cultures were mixed in with our population of focus, and East Asians would include Japanese and Korean peoples. However, this was a celebration of Hawaiian and Polynesian cultures. Again, I did see a lot of Japanese clothing, even with anime represented, and while I can understand some people's misinterpretation of Asian culture, I do not think it's right that the cultural event was misrepresented through Asian distinctions, and I think more focus should be given to that care and concern in future. As some reflections at the micro level to influence my practice in future, I can learn about Hawaiian and Polynesian cultures more, understand current policy in place like House Bill 1177, and better inform my own practice. At the meso level, understanding that sense of belonging I felt through the event to increase communal presence and coming together. Macro level would be policy to respect culture, Arizona revised statutes and current policies in place, and then advocating for the rights of Hawaiian citizens. Cultural humility is a big point. It framed this event, my perspective on cultural differences. While it can be hard to compare my own culture with another, because I do have great respect and pride for both, I was able to see that through a consistency that we both shared for beauty and grace in our own cultural traditions. And that framing on cultural differences was one that allowed me to see better my privilege and socioeconomic advantages as a white male in America. To become a change agent and to influence my micro practice, I will use evidence-based practices in order to operate better with clients. Gaining cultural attunement will be the most important quality in influencing my practice at the micro level. Meso level, we touched on the sense of belonging, community, and pride. That'll play a big part in focus group influences and community solutions. And then at the macro level, House Bill 1177 and the trumped House Bill 424 of Arizona, these are important in understanding policies currently at play that affect Hawaiian citizens and their rights, and then to ensure equality in policy. I want to thank you guys so much for listening to my presentation and for watching those fun videos. I had a really great time. A big takeaway for me moving forward from this experience is how these cultures and the traditions that I had seen represented such beauty and grace and delicate hard work in each of their honed abilities. And this was all done through a great pride and respect for their heritage. In order to understand this great community sense of belonging that comes from all these things, it's important for us as social workers moving forward to become the change agents inherent through micro, meso, and macro level practices. I want to thank you all for watching again, and I hope you have a great day.